Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I am so glad that you've tuned into the show today. I'm Lynelle Ellis, president of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association and your host for the show. I'm going to be talking with Jan Roberts on today's show, and she will be sharing with us what it's like to be a musician here in the Walla Walla Valley during this challenging year that we've all been experiencing. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. And also, I will have some important things to share with you during our station news segment, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And we'll begin now with our devotional thought. We're going to continue today with the readings that we have been experiencing. These readings having to do with the resurrection, or the end of Christ's life, his death, and then his resurrection as we celebrate the Easter season. And these readings are from the book Messiah by Jerry Thomas, and it's really a modern version or a modern translation of the classic work, The Desire of Ages by Ellen White. We are going to be, as I mentioned, really specifically this week looking at Christ's death as we progress in this story. And then we have one more reading that will take place next week where we'll look at the resurrection itself. And we know that our faith is really centered around the redemption that came through Christ's sacrifice. So this is a very, very important theme to us that we're looking at over the last couple of weeks, and this week, and then again next week. So let's think about the cross, Jesus' death, and his sacrifice for us. The cross. Now the Lord of glory was near death, feeling agony of both body and soul. It wasn't the fear of death or the pain of the cross that caused his suffering. It was a sense of the horrible wickedness of sin. Jesus saw how few humans would be willing to break their addiction to it. Without help from God, all humans would be exterminated. The guilt of every human since Adam was placed on Jesus, our substitute, and it pressed heavily upon his heart. All of his life, Jesus had been sharing the good news of the Father's forgiving love. But now, the terrible weight of sin was on him, and he could not see his Father's face. This tore at his heart in a way that humans will never fully understand. The agony was so overwhelming that he hardly felt the physical pain. All that he suffered, the blood that dripped from his head, his hands, and his feet, the agony that tore his body with every breath, and the unspeakable anguish in his heart from being separated from his Father, speaks to each of us, saying, "For you, the Son of God agrees to carry this guilt. For you, he battles and wins. For you, he opens the gates of heaven. For you, he offers himself as a sacrifice." All of this he does because of his love for you. As we go through this week, let's think about the tremendous and incredible love that God has for us, that Christ has for us, and this sacrifice that was made. And may it make a difference in the way we live each day. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now is Jan Roberts, musician. And Jan, it is great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the work that you do as a musician here in the Walla Walla Valley and organizations you're involved with.
Okay. I am the collaborative pianist, staff accompanist at both Whitman University as well as Walla Walla University.
Mm-hmm. So that keeps you pretty busy right there.
It does.
And you also teach private lessons.
I do. Mm-hmm. I have just a small number of private students because my schedule hasn't allowed for more.
Mm-hmm. And you've been involved with some other groups in the community besides these two universities.
Yes. Violin Praise, which I'm sure many of your viewers are acquainted with, as well as the Walla Walla Chorale Society, which hasn't functioned for the last year, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we still have hopes.
We
that
do.
it will go on. Yeah.
We do. In fact, that's really why we're chatting today, is we want to talk about what music has been like. And when I was thinking about what's that experience like for a musician, your name came right to my mind, because I know you're involved with a number of different groups, as you just mentioned. What has the past year been like for those who love music and love music performance?
Well, of course, for those who are involved with students, that's been quite a challenge, because you have students that have stayed home, students that are on campus, students that don't want to do anything right now, and so it sets them back a bit. Teachers' frustrations with trying to teach online. Can you imagine teaching a voice student wearing a mask? You can't see their mouth, you can't see anything that they're doing. It's been really tough, yeah.
Very difficult. And your students are piano students primarily?
Yes.
Yeah, or all maybe?
Piano students, and so a lot of that has also been done on Zoom. Some are in person now, and we rejoice in that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So when we can have them in person. And what about performances? Maybe tell us about some of your experiences with performances at the college and university.
Well, for the past year, there have been very few performances. Since Christmas time, there are occasional, very small group performances, students needing to complete senior recitals, etc., to either a non-existent audience or an audience of 5 or 6 people. And that will just continue until the rest of the school year in both schools. Yeah.
So in a way, it's refreshing to be able to have some small performances.
Absolutely.
In person.
Yes.
And also, we've seen some events that have been virtual, but some of the members of the groups have been able to be together.
Yes.
Masked. And I think for the first part of this pandemic experience, groups weren't even getting together.
Correct.
Orchestras, bands, choirs.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. And now you'll notice that any of the wind instruments, they are covered, the bells are covered, and they're wearing a special mask that has a little flap in it. And that's tough. It's taken time to get used to. But, you know, the students are doing well. They're pushing on in spite of it, and that's great to see.
And I even saw e-cantori at Walla Walla University singing, standing very far apart, and no audience there. We were watching it virtually, but they had some special masks on.
They call them, I believe, duckbill masks. And so they have a couple of wires which keeps all the cloth away from their mouth, which helps, of course, with breathing.
And being able to get the sound out as well, a bit.
A bit, yeah.
It did sound pretty good. I mean, you could tell they were wearing masks, but...
It's pretty amazing, actually, what all has happened during this time, that we've been able to make music on a limited basis, but have it sound reasonably good.
One of the things, and you can speak to this as a musician, that I've sensed is that people who have music in them, it's just got to come out some way, and you know, they find a way.
We do. You know, you find musicians on the street corners, perhaps. I saw the other day musicians are performing in department store windows, amplified so the passers-by can see that. The other day when I was in downtown Walla Walla, there was a little combo group that were performing in the plaza there right downtown.
Yes.
And teachers have expressed, oh, if I could just take the students outside and teach.
Yes.
So they're making it happen, and I appreciate that.
And with improving weather, we'll probably see more and more outdoor music taking place this spring and into the summer.
Students will take their instruments out when they can and practice outside. Sure.
Yeah, really good. So what are, I think we touched on this a little bit, but maybe you have a little bit more to say with what precautions, especially these 2 universities that you work with, what precautions they've put in place, because as large institutions, they of course need especially to be careful that they have safe guidelines.
Yes. Well, the one I'm particularly involved in is wiping down the piano before and after you play it. Students are wiping down music stands, chairs, anything that they're touching. Any rehearsals that are done in person, like when I work with a student, have to be done in a larger space than normal. So we get the distancing done. All of the teaching is done distancing. And that in itself presents a challenge. even to accompany for a voice student wearing a mask when you're so used to watching their mouth, seeing the breath. Yeah, that's a bit tricky.
As an accompanist,
yes,
watching that person, I'm sure, is absolutely essential so that you know where they're going. You're following them.
Yes, yes. So,
boy, that would be challenging.
Yeah.
And you've been able to perform with, in addition to accompanying for recitals, which I know you've been doing, and a few things at the universities, you've been able to perform some, not with the whole violin praise group, but I know with smaller segments. What's that been like?
Family groups, solos. That's been good. I think it's really helped to keep our group together while we've been apart. And of course, we'll all look forward to getting together again one of these days, we hope. And it's been great to see the people in person and, not just do the virtual work.
Recordings, yes, which some of that has been done, of course, too.
There's been a lot of that.
Lots of that.
I've recorded hundreds of pieces of music during this last year for violin praise, for students to work with, for students to perform with. And so, yeah, it's all been a learning process.
Yes, technology you probably didn't use very much before.
No.
And now making all those recordings. And
yes.
I know there have been a lot of busy editors as well who've edited together various musicians to make those combo videos that we're becoming pretty familiar with on YouTube and that sort of thing. Sure. So musicians are continuing to find a way to enjoy music, and we have a few live things happening. I know Village Church has been having some Saturday evening music programs over, like Vesper programs over the past few weeks, and those are always with family groups or small groups at a time, but at least it's live music.
Yeah, those have been great. I've really appreciated being part of those.
Yes, and you can go to those in person, or you can watch virtually as well, which is nice. Of course, in person, masked and distanced.
Yeah,
yes. So let's think about what events might be coming up. We're coming up on the resurrection season, the Easter holiday, and that has traditionally meant some special music to a lot of people, especially those who are church going.
Yes.
So what have you heard that's happening in our community in that direction?
Well, I haven't heard a lot, but I do know that the Presbyterian Church in Walla Walla is doing a drive-in Easter service, and they're going to have a choir that's going to sing outside, and they've been working towards that, so that will be really good. And as we mentioned earlier, I believe they're doing a community sunrise service at Pioneer Park.
Yes.
Yes. And beyond that, I'm not aware of anything else, but there may be.
Yeah, there may, and I'm not really right off as well. So this is an opportunity now for those who are watching and know they should be calling Blue Mountain Television and telling us what it is, so we can be sure to announce it.
Yeah.
But so I know that people are still wanting to enjoy music at this time of year, wanting to make it special. And maybe as we wrap up our time together, we ought to mention this Walla Walla Symphony as well, just a little bit, because this is a tough time for an organization like that. Have you heard, being kind of with the musicians, have you heard a bit about that?
Well, they had planned to do a concert, Baroque concert, before Christmas, and that was canceled, and then it was canceled. I think it's been canceled 3 times. Well, it's finally going to happen, and that will be virtual, of course, and you can buy tickets online to watch it, and there will probably be more of those, I'm guessing, in the community as well. So yeah, we just look forward to more and more of whatever we can do.
Absolutely, and hoping that we will have a healthy community and we'll be able to get back to more music in person the way we've really enjoyed it.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Well, Jan, I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk with me about what it's like to be a musician these days and some of the things that have happened and hopefully will be in our community.
Thank you so much
for
asking.
Stay tuned. I'll be right back with Station News. Welcome back. Let's take a look now at Station News. The first thing that I want to remind you about is our series, The Days of Noah, that we've been running during the month of March. And it is time for the final episode this Saturday night at 7 p.m. It's part 4, and it's called Ark of Fire. And this particular episode is talking about how in the Old Testament we see God presented as a consuming fire. For instance, in Isaiah it says, "Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings?" That's Isaiah 33:14. And then here's the answer to the question: "He that walks righteously." And the message that Noah was presenting in the days of Noah is the same kind of message that we need to hear now about preparing for the coming of Christ, being prepared to meet this God who will be a consuming fire to sin, of course, but not to those who have given their lives and their hearts to Him. So once again, this series is comparing the story of Noah and what we can learn from it with the times that we're living in now as we are anticipating Christ's second coming. So again, Days of Noah, part 4, 7 p.m., Ark of Fire when Jesus comes again. So looking forward to that episode this Saturday evening. Another note about programming, and this isn't a program that you can watch just yet on Blue Mountain Television, but we are still working on it. And you know the big production we've been working on, Secret Life of the Desert. Well, the news for this week is that Daniel Biggs and Mike Denny are outdoors again in the desert this week, getting what we usually call pickup footage. They've got all the footage for the series in essence, but there are a few things that they are still trying to gather and have to put into the program that they weren't able to catch during the fall. And so they are out filming this week, and they are specifically looking for an endangered species, a very special grouse, and they are in contact with the Bureau of Land Management and working with them. In fact, the Bureau is helping them to locate these rare birds so that they can get footage of them for our series. And we're going to have a full report from Daniel Biggs when he gets back, and so I'll be able to share that with you next week on the show. Hopefully they will find those rare birds, the rare grouse that they're looking for, and get the footage. Also, another event for your calendar that I've been talking about for a while and that you certainly don't want to forget about is Partnership Weekend, April 16 and 17, with our theme, Healing Hope, and our special guests, Michael and Lynn Harris. Lynn is going to be presenting on Friday evening, and the meeting will be called From Grief to Relief. And then we have our sermon on Sabbath with Michael Harris, There's Nothing More Powerful Than a Made-Up Mind. And of course, he's providing music for the entire weekend and a Saturday evening concert as well. All of these meetings are going to be held at the Village Seventh-day Adventist Church, so you can come in person with safety precautions in place, or you may watch on the live stream or watch it on television. So you have opportunity to do either one. And one of the important things about this date, April 16 and 17, is that it is anniversary time for Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. We first went on the air on April 21, 1990. So this, if you add it up, is the 31st anniversary, and we are celebrating it with this weekend, this partnership weekend. Now here's just the schedule. I'm just going to kind of lay it out for you, and you'll be able to see it on the screen. Friday, April 16, 7 p.m. Vesters with Michael and Lynn Harris, Grief to Relief. Sabbath, April 17, 9:30 a.m., Blue Mountain Television Sabbath School. 11 a.m., Sermon and Music by Michael Harris. 3 to 5 p.m., we're going to have an open house at 1470 Wallula Avenue, Walla Walla, and that, you will know, is the address of our new facility. So open house there from 3 to 5 on Saturday, and then at 6:30 p.m., Lynn Harris with The Miracle of You and the Michael Harris Concert. So that's the schedule for you, and I'm sure you can find that as well at our website when you are looking for all those details about how to enjoy this special anniversary partnership weekend for Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. And then the last thing that I want to tell you about here on Station News is plans that are happening for our new building. You know, we're always seeking to make progress on what we're doing with the building, and I wanted to let you know that the building plans are now complete and have been approved by our executive committee. And so we're sending those plans off to the county because the next step is to apply for the building permit that we will need in order to progress with the next phase. We have received some wonderful gifts from you recently related to our project. And in fact, some of them are large gifts, and we want to thank you very, very much. And we would welcome you to participate more with this process of moving to the new facility. As I always say here when we're talking together, we don't move ahead until we have the funds in hand. So your donations on behalf of this are absolutely essential, and we do need thousands more in order to be able to keep moving and progress forward with this process. So thank you for your prayers for the project, for talking about it with friends and neighbors, and for your financial support of it. All of the good things that you hear about on the show and that are happening because you are giving and praying and being a part of the ministry of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. So thank you. And I also want to thank you for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed the show, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Blessings. Bye.